And we start with breaking news on Harvard's graduation day. Just a few miles away from the commencement ceremony, a U.S. district judge ordered the Homeland Security and State Departments not to make any changes to the university's student visa program indefinitely. CNN is covering the story from all angles. Paula Reed is following the updates inside the hearing, and Danny Freeman is next to Harvard's campus where graduation is wrapping up. Paula, first walk us through what the judge said.
So Dana, for now, international students can still come to Harvard. Now, today, the judge was looking at this move by the Trump administration to revoke the university's student visa program. This impacts their ability to host international students, because if you come here to attend school from another country, you have to be enrolled in a school with a valid student visa program. The university has argued that this is a violation of their free speech and other constitutional rights. And today, this was a high-stakes hearing in this ongoing battle between the university and the administration, and it was almost derailed by a late-night filing last night by the Justice Department. This was a formal notice to the school that they intended to go forward with this, and it kicked off a 30-day period that would have given the university an opportunity to respond. And Dana, that's the kind of boring procedural stuff that can completely delay or derail a hearing like this. But today, the judge was not having it. She said she did not want to leave this issue open. And instead, she said she wants to, quote, maintain the status quo. So she is going to continue a temporary block on this policy, and she wants the two sides, so the university and the Justice Department, to hash out a permanent pause on this policy. She said it doesn't need to be draconian, but I want to make sure it's worded in such a way that nothing changes. So that pause will remain in effect while these larger constitutional questions are litigated and until a final court decides if this is a violation of the Constitution. And as you know, this is just one of the many ongoing battles between the school and the Trump administration on everything from funding to DEI.
That's right. And as we mentioned, as we speak, there is a graduation wrapping up up in Boston. And as the graduation was happening, the students at Harvard gave the school's president, Alan Garber, a minute-long standing ovation. Danny Freeman, you are right there. What are you hearing about the events on campus today?
Danny, here on campus, there's really a mix of emotions. Obviously, we've seen a lot of the pomp and circumstance that you would expect with any graduation, right? There are families and parents here that are all dressed up. They're thrilled for their graduating seniors. There are a lot of people in caps and gowns all over the place here, again, celebrating their own achievement from graduating from Harvard. But make no mistake, this ongoing battle with the federal government really has been looming large over this entire community. You noted it. We saw that standing ovation for the president of Harvard, Alan Garber, earlier. He's really become the face of the resistance against the Trump administration, and that was noteworthy. But he really stayed away from politics in his remarks to the class, although I will note he did say at one point, members of the class of 2025 from down the street, across the country, and around the world. And he noted, around the world, just as it should be. And that line right there got tremendous applause as well from the folks on Harvard's campus at that moment. But other than that, stayed away from the direct subject of what is going on right now. But a lot of speakers since then have alluded to this idea that Harvard is in a battle and is worthy of defending. Take a listen to what one of the student commencement speakers said on this topic just a little while ago now.
With Harvard at the center of a national battle over higher education in America. Now look, our university is certainly imperfect, but I am proud to stand today alongside our graduating class, our faculty, and our president with the shared conviction that this ongoing project of Veritas is one worth defending.
Now, Dana, all that being said, and Paula's update aside, while there might be some slight relief from that judge's order today and keeping that ban basically not from happening at the moment, there is still concern for the community of international students here. Make no mistake, I've been speaking to folks throughout the week, not just for them, but also for this larger battle of federal funding that is currently being cut or frozen for many researchers here. So this story not quite over, though a cheerful day here on Commencement Day on campus. Dana.
Yeah, it sure seems that way. Thank you both for that update. Appreciate it. And I'm joined by a terrific group of reporters here at the table. CNN's Jeff Zeleny, The Washington Post's Sabrina Rodriguez, and Jonah Goldberg of The Dispatch. Hello, everyone. Jeff, the politics of Harvard is ever changing, both on campus and also with regard to kind of how that school is perceived across the board, especially by the man in the White House. Maybe that hasn't changed so much, but it is escalating, and he is absolutely not backing down.
He's not backing down. Harvard is a symbol to him. It's a symbol of elitism. Never mind that several Harvard grads work in the White House, which is always the case, of course. But I do think that Harvard has been making the case here that it's not just about them. This is about something that could hurt the American people, hurt the American economy, hurt the American sort of ideal. So making this much more about simply Harvard University. But it's going to be interesting to see where this goes from here, because the judge, of course, is temporarily blocking this. Of course, that's not the final word. And we're already reading and hearing that some international students are frightened by this or concerned by this. Some may leave on their own accord. So it could still have the intended effect without the legal effect. But there's no doubt the president of the White House loves to pick this fight with Harvard for a variety of reasons that I think go back to his upbringing and more than that.
Yeah, although he did go to Penn.
He did.
So I think it's really interesting, Jonah, that Columbia, which was kind of first on the administration's target list, when they had their graduation, the interim president, Claire Shipman, who, by the way, used to be a reporter here, she made an allusion to all of the tumult that's going on there. And there was a lot of tumult going on in and around that particular graduation. Here, it seems as though right now, and we'll see how the afternoon plays out, that what the president is doing has unified the Harvard campus in a way that did not happen, and it was not the environment a year ago, where Jewish students genuinely felt upset and worried and scared, and the people who were protesting, felt that the way they felt. And the fact that they seem to be coming together with a pushback on the way that the Trump administration is attacking Harvard across the board is really noteworthy.
Yeah, although the causality is different, right? Columbia, which in many ways was a bigger hot mess than Harvard is.
Definitely.
And also capitulated to the Trump administration. So, while I agree with you that like the cultural resonance of going after Harvard and all that is a big factor here, one of the reasons why the administration keeps doubling down is because Harvard's not capitulating.
Right.
And so if it had been Yale not capitulating, they would go after Yale, right? Because part of it is this signaling effect that you're referring to, which is they want to do this to other schools. They ran through a whole bunch of law firms, and as long as they capitulated, they moved on to the next one. It's the ones who fight it that they don't want that signal going out there. And so I actually have I think Harvard deserves a lot of grief and has made some enormous mistakes over the last quarter century and deserved some correction, but not the way the Trump administration is doing it. At the same time, I think the Trump administration just has better cards at the end of the day, with the law, with the ability to discontinue future grants, which the school depends on, and they're already figuring out a way to sort of disqualify whole classes of foreign students, which means some of their legal remedies is saying you're signaling us out, go away. If they're saying no foreign students at any schools, then they can't say Harvard's being picked on. So I think at the end of the day, the Trump administration sadly has better cards than Harvard does.
And as you were sort of alluding to, there are different lines and areas of attack. I mean, at this point, the Trump administration is basically using all of the lines or all of the cards, to continue on your metaphor. And that is especially true when it comes just to the money. My understanding is that on that note, when the president found out how much Harvard gets in federal grants, knowing that Harvard also has a lot of money from private endowments, that was part of the, we all know his mentality when it comes to the word fairness. That's what's driving his tariffs policy right now. And so that was part of the Harvard equation.
Yeah, he thinks they had a trade deficit with Harvard.
Yeah, I mean, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, there's a political calculation here too for Trump. Trump is calculating that his base is going to be pleased with the actions he's taking against these universities because, as you were saying before, just this look at, the elites of this country. And he talked earlier this week about, he could use the money that he's freezing from Harvard to, invest in trade schools. So there's a political calculation here, but the polling sort of shows that there's a disconnect between what the Trump administration thinks people want and what the American public actually think of all of this. Because even before the escalation, the latest escalation with Harvard, we saw that a majority of Americans don't like what he's doing with universities, and that even Republicans are sort of divided on the actions that he's taking against universities. So there is sort of a question that as he continues to double down, will there be any kind of shift if this really isn't going to play well with folks?